The sunset was blood red, spilling over the old streets of Old Town, San Diego, where time seemed to stand still. The wind howled through ancient houses, carrying the sound of tightening rope, as if a soul were struggling in eternal agony. In the heart of the town, the Whaley house stood tall, its red bricks glowing dimly in the twilight. An invisible mist cloaked the house, even though the sky was clear and cloudless. From the second-floor window, a flickering light blinked irregularly, like invisible eyes watching, yet no figure appeared. The Whaley house, a name that sends shivers down America's spine. Twice it was named the most haunted house in the country, by the renowned Time magazine and the Travel Channel's Most Haunted Places. But what turned this place into a gateway to the world of restless spirits? The story began more than a century ago, on this very blood-soaked ground. In 1852, there were no red bricks or grand hallways here. It was an execution ground where pain and death soaked deep into the earth. James "Yankee Jim" Robinson, a tall criminal, was hanged for a failed theft. A silent crowd surrounded him, broken only by the sound of wind and creaking rope. Yankee Jim didn't die easily. His long legs thrashed wildly against a wagon, desperate to hold onto his final breath. His bloodshot eyes stared at the onlookers as if carving a curse into their souls. He swung like a pendulum, his body writhing in despair. As the rope tightened, his scream merged with the wind, echoing eternally like a cursed oath haunting this land. Thomas Whaley, a wealthy merchant, stood in the crowd that day. He saw Yankee Jim's vengeful gaze, heard the ropes creak, but it didn't stop him. In 1856, he bought that very cursed land and built a grand mansion. The red bricks, fired in his family's kiln, were stacked high, as if to lock away a dark past. But darkness is not so easily buried. Even before the Whaley family moved in, strange signs emerged. Heavy footsteps echoed through the halls, like the boots of a tall man. Windows creaked though the air was still. A whiff of Cuban tobacco drifted in the dark, as if someone was smoking and watching from the shadows. Thomas Whaley designed the house with an arched hallway separating the bedroom from the dining room, precisely where the gallows once stood. Did he accidentally open a door that could never be closed? In the first nights inside the new home, the Whaley family was awakened by constant thudding footsteps. The sound seemed to come from the arched hallway, where the old chandelier flickered for no reason. Sometimes a whisper echoed, unclear, as if many spirits were fighting to tell an unfinished story. Thomas, ever rational, reassured his family it was only the wind or the wood shifting. But deep down he knew. He remembered Yankee Jim's eyes, burning with vengeance, and the way he cursed the land with his dying breath. At night, the mansion turned colder than ever. A blurry figure drifted past the second-floor window, vanishing before anyone could see clearly. A mournful piano tune echoed from the living room, even though the piano had been gone for decades. The scent of French perfume floated through the hall, mingling with the smell of fresh toast from the cold kitchen. These phenomena were not merely whispers of the past, they were warnings. The Whaley house is not just a home. It's a place where trapped souls remain, where Yankee Jim and untold tragedies linger waiting. Tonight, a team of paranormal investigators, led by Alex, prepares to enter the house. They bring flashlights, EMF detectors, and a fragile courage. Will they be able to face what waits in the dark? Is Yankee Jim still pacing the halls in his heavy boots? Or will other spirits, like Violet or the unlucky children, appear with their painful stories? There's only one way to find out. Step into the Whaley house, where past and present merge in the whispers of the dead. Darkness engulfed the Whaley house as the investigation team, led by Alex, stepped through the old wooden door. The hinges creaked like a warning, blending with the sound of wind howling outside, even though not a single breeze passed through Old Town tonight. The faint light from their flashlights swept across the hallway, illuminating the cold red bricks, but it couldn't dispel the heavy pressure pressing down on their chests. The EMF detector in Alex's hand began to flicker wildly, emitting sharp beeping sounds, as if an invisible force was standing close by, watching their every step. They stopped at the arched hallway, where the gallows once stood to end Yankee Jim's life. The air here was freezing, as if winter had crept into the heart of California's summer. Their breath turned into white mist, though the temperature outside remained warm. One member, Sarah, whispered that she felt an invisible hand brush her shoulder, but when she turned, there was only darkness. Heavy footsteps, like military boots, suddenly echoed from the end of the hallway. Thump, thump. The sound was steady and slow, as if someone was walking with terrifying patience. Alex signaled the group to stay silent, but the recorder in his hand picked up a whisper, weak but clear, "Leave." The voice belonged to none of them, and it seemed to come from the very walls. The group moved into the living room, where the chandelier above suddenly swayed, despite the absence of any breeze. A wooden armchair in the corner trembled slightly, as if someone had just sat down and then stood up. Sarah, her voice trembling, pointed to the chair and stammered that she saw a blurry figure wearing an overcoat and a tall hat, standing right beside it. But when the flashlight swept over, there was nothing but empty space. The smell of Cuban tobacco suddenly filled the room, so strong the group began to cough violently, but no cigarette was found. Then from somewhere, a trace of French perfume drifted by, sweet yet chilling, as if a noble spirit had just passed them. They climbed the stairs, heading toward the 9th step, a spot notorious for paranormal activity. As Alex stepped onto the 8th step, an invisible force pressed heavily on his chest, like a cold hand trying to push him back. Another member, Mark, shouted as he felt a soft, furry touch against his leg, as if an unseen animal had just brushed past. But there were no dogs or cats in the house. Suddenly, a child's laughter rang out from the 2nd floor, clear yet haunting, as if a child was playing in the dark. The laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by a long, sorrowful cry, as if someone were in unbearable pain. The recorder captured another voice, this time a woman's, whispering, "Violet, don't." The team moved into the dining room, once the heart of the Whaley family's lavish banquets. A porcelain plate on the table suddenly trembled, producing a sharp clinking sound, as if someone had just set down a knife and fork. The smell of toast and fresh pastries filled the room, though the nearby kitchen had been cold for decades. Alex felt a chill run down his spine as he heard the sound of a gavel striking from the main hall, once the county courtroom. The thud, thud, was sharp and precise, as if an invisible judge were delivering a sentence in the dark. The team froze, their hearts pounding, as a door at the end of the hallway slammed shut, though no one had touched it. The darkness now felt more alive than ever, as if the house itself was breathing, watching, waiting. The spirits of Yankee Jim, Violet Whaley, and the unfortunate children no longer lingered, they were present, right beside the investigators. Every sound, every scent, every invisible touch was a reminder that this house did not welcome the living. Alex, trembling, still led the group deeper into the darkness, knowing that what they were about to face might go beyond anyone's imagination. Pale morning light crept through the windows of the Whaley house, but its weak glow couldn't drive away the darkness clinging to the red brick walls. The investigation team, led by Alex, stepped out of the house, their feet heavy as if held back by an invisible force. The creaking of the door echoed behind them as it closed, sounding like a sigh from the house itself. The early morning breeze swept through Old Town, carrying with it faint whispers, as if the spirits within the mansion were still watching, unwilling to let them go. Each member of the team bore expressions of tension mixed with horror, as if they had just returned from a world not meant for the living. The long night inside the mansion had left indelible marks. The heavy footsteps of Yankee Jim still echoed in their minds, like military boots pounding steadily on wooden floors. The sound of children's laughter, sometimes clear, sometimes choked, still seemed to drift around the staircase. The scent of French perfume and Cuban tobacco still clung to their clothes, even though they had left the house. But what haunted them most was the icy pressure on the 9th step, where the spirit of Anna Whaley seemed to try and stop them from reaching the 2nd floor, where her daughter Violet ended her life with a gunshot. What they experienced wasn't just paranormal phenomena, it was a reminder that the Whaley house was more than a home. It was a living tomb, where souls remained trapped in pain and resentment. As the team stood in the yard, dawn light fell upon the red bricks, but the house still radiated an inexplicable eeriness. A blurry figure passed by a second-floor window, so quickly that no one could be certain they had truly seen it. Was it Thomas Whaley in formal attire with a tall hat, still proudly guarding his kingdom? Or was it Anna in a green plaid dress, sitting pensively on the living room sofa, her sorrowful eyes gazing toward the garden? A somber piano note suddenly rang out from inside, even though the instrument had vanished decades ago. The sound, mingling with the wind, felt like a haunting invitation, luring the curious back in. The stories of the Whaley house aren't limited to human spirits. Dolly the dog and Winks the cat, the family's four-legged members, also seem to have never left. One team member, Sarah, recalled the sensation of soft fur brushing against her leg, as if an invisible animal had just run by. But when she looked down, there was only the cold wooden floor. The sharp, cold gavel strikes still echoed in their minds, as if old court sessions were still being held in the grand hall. And the crying of children, mixed with eerie giggles, still seemed to echo from the second floor, where tragic young lives had left their imprint. The Whaley house is not just a historical museum. It is a doorway to a world that the living can only touch through fear. The spirits of Yankee Jim, Violet, Anna, Thomas, and the children still linger in the hallways, the dining room, and the garden. They show no signs of leaving, as if the house is the only place they belong. Every footstep, every invisible touch, every fleeting scent is a reminder that the past never truly disappears. The house still breathes, still lives, still waits for new visitors brave enough to cross its threshold. Alex and the team departed, but their eyes lingered as if mesmerized by the mansion. They carried with them an unanswered question. Were their experiences merely tricks of the imagination, or is the Whaley house truly a place where two worlds converge? The house stood silently in the dawn light, but no one could deny its power. The power of a cursed place where history and spirits intertwine in darkness. Those who are brave enough to enter, can they ever leave without carrying a part of its haunting with them? The Whaley house still stands, waiting, whispering, and never letting go.